The first panelist for the day is Mr. V. Ram, the Vice President at TCS, is also the Chief Technology Officer for the Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Division. In this role, Mr. Ram is responsible for helping banks and financial institutions to manage technology risks, costs, and also to foster innovation across the three horizons. As part of the innovation agenda, he is the custodian of the TCS Banking Innovation Lab and works with TCS labs and customers worldwide to incubate innovation ideas from inception to execution. He also works closely with the external innovation accelerators to help banks accelerate their innovation agenda. During the course of this 25 plus years with TCS, he has led several large mission critical transformation programs for TCS's BFSI clients across the globe. Two of these programs led by Ram have won Banker Technology Awards from the prestigious UK-based Financial Times Group, the Banker magazine, illustrating the deal complexity and business value delivered to clients. Ram has also been a part of the Tata Innovista award-winning TCS team for embracing innovation in the Reimagine Charity TIN project. He's an engineer with several years of management experience. Ram has also worked in several roles across sales, transformation, and technology. He has lived and worked in 10 different countries. He's an avid squash player and has also completed several half marathons. A truly multifaceted personality that we have with us for this panel discussion. Thank you, Mr. Ram, for joining us. I'd also like to introduce the second panelist for the day, Dr. Shankar Venugopal, who is a Vice President at Mahindra & Mahindra and is also Head of Technology Innovation, Intellectual Property and Technical Capability Building. Dr. Shankar Venugopal is one of the most leading technology innovators in India, especially in the automotive front. He is passionate towards scouting new technologies and translating such technological ideas into breakthrough innovations. His research interests span across electrical vehicles, connected vehicles, autonomous vehicles, and precision farming. He has been recognized by World Innovation Congress as one of the top 50 innovative leaders globally. Prior to joining Mahindra & Mahindra as Vice President and Head of Technology Innovation, Dr. Shankar has also led technology innovation leadership roles at General Electric, Dow, Honeywell, and Cummins. He holds patents and numerous new product innovation awards. He has developed a proprietary systemic innovation method called Innovation Flow and trained 1,000+ innovators and inventors. He has also headed global cross-functional teams to deliver critical innovation for business growth, along with an excellent track record in materials innovation and new product development. He obtained his PhD in material science and a gold medal for the best doctoral thesis from Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. He completed his executive management program from IIM Bangalore. He teaches technology innovation management at premier engineering and management institutes across the globe and is also the Dean of Mahindra Technical Academy. He is also a very, very passionate TEDx speaker and has delivered several keynote sessions across different innovation and mobility conferences. A privilege to have you here, sir. Welcome. And I move on to the next panelist for today's panel discussion, Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj, who is the Vice President and Global Head of User Experience, HARMAN International. He has got over 2 decades of experience in the UX industry. Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj has also a proven track record of enabling UX-led, user experience-led business transformation for several Fortune 100 companies by optimizing customer interactions with the brand offerings and touchpoints. He has been instrumental in institutionalizing UX in companies such as Wipro, Renaissance IT, Aditi Technologies, HARMAN International, and many more. He has also moved these organizations from an ad hoc user-centric design approach to a mature, self-sustained UX practice that delivers value driven by core business metrics. The UX team spearheaded by Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj was awarded the prestigious Red Dot Awards, ranked as leader in experience design by analysts and recognized as the agency of the year twice in a row by LinkedIn. As the Vice President of User Experience at HARMAN, he is responsible for customer experience transformations and building a unique selling proposition with a perfect blend of design and technology. He is extremely focused on shaping business vision, user insights, and technology to define the experience strategy. Under his leadership, a global experience design team with deep competency has been built, thereby making design a key competitive differentiator. Prior to joining HARMAN, Mr. Mohan served as head of user experience group at Wipro, where he orchestrated multi-million-dollar contracts, implemented innovative UX strategies, and turned underperforming business units around. He enjoys gathering first-hand insights from his outstanding network of C-level executives, vice presidents, directors from across US, Asia Pacific, and Europe. And his expertise in influencing brand strategy through CMO workshops has won him several rave reviews from industry experts and peers. Good to have you here, sir. Delighted. We'd love to hear from you shortly.
Thank you, Philip.
Yeah. Dr. Guruprasad Kuppu Rao is the director and mentor of the leadership team at Imaginarium India Private Limited. He's a technocrat with over 30 plus years of experience in product design and development, business development, design research, corporate development, business operations, digital fabrication, and strategy. Currently, he's a director and mentor at Imaginarium India, the most diverse 3D printing company located in Mumbai.
Thank you.
The present focus is on life and design for additive manufacturing, besides technology mentoring, building Imaginarium Life, Imaginarium Academy, and technology partnerships across domains. Before Imaginarium, he was a professor and a chief coordinator, Product Lifecycle Management Competency Center at Bangalore, where he primarily focused on product design, jewelry design, and product lifecycle management. He obtained his PhD in product design from IIT Bombay and his master's degree in product design from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He's also served in key roles at Crompton Greaves, Titan, and Tanishq. He is also a keynote speaker in many additive manufacturing conferences and exhibitions. Sir, good to have you, sir, again. We look forward to your inputs for the session that we are going to have now. Without wasting any more time, let me quickly start this panel discussion. I would like to start this discussion with the first the word, namely the trend that we have in our topic, engineering the future, trend, innovation, and opportunities. I like to start with trends. Until recently, words like artificial intelligence, blockchain, automation probably represented very niche technology areas that probably made sense to a few set of people. But I think things are changing so fast that these technologies just don't look niche anymore. They've sort of become mainstream. I remember going through a Gartner report, which got published in the later part of 2019, which talked about the next generation technology. And it was all about just not automation, but hyper automation. That is automation with AI and ML. It just not, and again, there was another on AI. It was just not AI. It said it was AI security. Then I also saw a term called human augmentation in that Gartner report. This word at least conjured up several images of human beings moving around with glasses like the Geo glasses, very sophisticated hearing aids, chips embedded into their bodies, even sometimes having some exoskeletons. I'm told that at one point of time we might even have some exoskeletons as part of an uniform for several industries where workers are expected to lift heavy objects. So yeah, there are a lot more interesting things as far as trends, mega trends are concerned. I'm sure these are exciting times that we live in. I'm going to stop here and probably let my panelists take over and give their insights on the next big mega trends that we are going to experience. So probably we will restrict ourselves to probably 2 to 2.5 minutes per speaker for this particular question. What are your insights on the next big mega trends that are going to come and influence us? So I would invite Mr. Ram in the first place. Mr. Ram, would you please come over, please?
Yeah, thank you, Philip. Are you able to hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank you all and dignitaries gathered today, and Dr. Thangam Meghanathan, Dr. Philip, and Dr. Ravi and Philip. And I think we heard Dr. Sivathanu Pillai's erudite speech. Fascinating to see the strides that we have made in space. Quite thrilled to hear about the helium-3 and energy and later precision farming that was mentioned during the introduction, right? You talked about introduction. I think you covered quite a few trends, right? This is a broad brush question. If at all, and I think the question is about what is the next immediate big trend. I think if at all, I think if we get something out of research and innovation that will make a big impact, it will be a solution for COVID for the world at a very, very low cost. And I hope it comes from India. Dr. Pillai said, Indian mind is powerful. But I think to step aside and go back, I think we live in a technology, in a time where technology is omnipresent in every minute of our life. Right? And research is going on in multiple areas, be it engineering, science, digital technologies. You talked about quite a few things: AI, machine learning, deep learning, robotics, blockchain, and so on. I think it's quite fascinating. And we also heard about Dr. Thangam talking about medicine and telemedicine, and Dr. Pillai also referred to that, about an operation done in France. I came across a fascinating article on Newsweek some time ago about University of Utah. The kind of innovation that will come is at the intersection of all these researches and sciences, right? And this particular example is about an AI robot doing initial part of the cranial surgery. And typically, a surgeon surgeon is entrusted with a brain, a real life brain. After he does his MBBS, then his master, the surgery, and then he is basically goes through training, and then he does the surgery itself. But before he does the surgery, he has to drill a hole into the brain. And this is a very highly regulated area. And when he drills the hole, it takes almost 2 to 2.5 hours continuously looking at the CT scan, CAT scan machines to make sure that even a small minor impinging on a nerve can actually paralyze a human who is undergoing surgery. Now, the University of Utah has come out with a AI-based drill, right? And that does the drill not in 2.5 hours, but in 2 minutes, while cutting the complications of all the post-operative care and promising to save more lives. And I think these are the kind of outcomes that we will see out of research and innovation, right? And at the intersection of sciences. Now, I'm not a fortune teller, but I think there are a lot of areas that that we will see in the area of electric and self-driving vehicles, in the area of IoT. Our fridges will order for us, our toothbrushes will send information to the dentist. 3D printing that we talked about earlier will have manufacturing of machinery, foods, maybe organs. And in the age of renewable energy, I think we touched upon. But I think if I were to kind of pick up three areas, I think I will pick up energy that is renewable and completely free. I think when 20 years ago, nobody would believe if we said that we could talk to somebody in New York or in London near free, right? And 5 years later or 10 years later, I think that will be the same case for energy. And imagine the power of energy being free or near free. Second is drinking water that will be available at almost no cost. Third is the elimination of cancer and major diseases, and mass decentralized production of food. I think we talked about the example of precision farming that Dr. Shankar was quite interested in. I think that's an area I think will take center stage in the next 5-10 years. I think we are living in exponential times, definitely. Over to you, Philip.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Dr. Shankar, please, would you like to come in and share your insights, please?
Sure. So I'll just try to focus on two areas which are very close to my heart and where I'm more familiar. One is clean mobility, which is powered by clean energy. And the second is precision farming, with the objective of optimally using the available resources, still doubling the productivity of the farmer, the money that he can take back home. So December 2019, if you are in Delhi, you won't be able to see much because of the smog. A lot of it was attributed to the tailpipe emission from the vehicles and also the farmers burning the stubble. This was December 2019. And come March 2020, which is hardly 4 months, somebody took a picture in Jalandhar where they could see the Himalayan ranges. So can you imagine, just in 3 to 4 months, how much of changes have happened? And more importantly, March, just 3 weeks, we all stayed back at home, didn't step out. And nature was able to heal itself to the level that when you take a picture in Jalandhar, you could still see the Himalayan ranges. And few more friends posted pictures of Ganges, Ganga and Yamuna. So clean, so beautiful, amazing. So nature has this amazing power to heal itself as long as we don't interfere with it. So for me, clean mobility is the top of my priorities more than anything else. Having lived in Bangalore, where it is so difficult to move around, and otherwise I love Bangalore a lot, but I'm unable to move around in Bangalore. I'm in Chennai now. So looking at mobility, how we can make it clean and also convenient. So I'm looking at the convergence of three big technology disruptions and one business model disruption. So the electric, connected, and autonomous vehicles. These are the three technology disruptions happening in a very big way and happening very fast. All these three technologies are growing exponentially. And the cost of these technologies is also falling exponentially, so that we'll be able to get products at the convergence of these three big disruptions. I also mentioned a business model disruption, which accelerates this further. That's a disruption of shared mobility, where you don't need to own a vehicle. You can use a shared vehicle and get all these benefits. So this combination of these four is very, very powerful. And this would create a very sustainable mobility option for us in the generations ahead. My other priority is in the farm space, where we are looking at precision farming, which is to bring sensors and IoT to the Indian farmer so that he'll be able to use water optimally and also insecticides, pesticides very minimally, so that he'll be able to achieve productivity with very minimal resources available. And this is making sure that the technology is something that's affordable to the Indian farmer, and also keeps in mind the various constraints. For example, more than 80% of the Indian farmers, their land holdings are very small, so that the technology that is used in the West cannot be directly brought here. We have to develop from scratch unique, innovative solutions for these farmers. So as Mahindra, we have electric and connected vehicles. But when we looked at autonomous, we thought we'll do autonomous tractor rather than autonomous car. And that's where a lot of our efforts are focused now, to get a driverless tractor. It's a semi-autonomous, in the sense a farmer can remotely control the movement of this tractor. But the best part is it will be at a price that an Indian farmer can afford. It's going to be a small, compact tractor with semi-autonomous features, and it will just cost a couple of lakhs, so that an Indian farmer can actually buy it and use it. So for me, disruption is all about mobility and farming. This is what I currently focus on. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Your points are well taken. Clean mobility and precision farming. And the next, I would request now Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj from HARMAN International, and I'm sure there's going to be something on talk on connected, because I'm sure this is something which your company specializes in as well. So, Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj, over to you, please.
Thank you, Philip. I think it was great insights from all of them, and pretty much enjoyed the complete ISRO knowledge, which is rare to get, and I'm sure it's a great benefit for all the students. From my perspective, the business or actually the philosophy that me or my team or the whole industry from our side about how can we humanize technology as much. I know there is an overload of technology on everything. It could be automobile, it could be healthcare, health sciences, and everything. But there is an overload of technology in everything. How much can we really deliver to what users are really expecting? From a very concept of human versus machine, can we really go into a concept of human with machines? So that is a winning combo where human with machines. There are a lot of new trends, like we can talk about cybernetic experiences that aims at striking a balance between human intervention versus automation. Right? How much of chatbots do you want when a person is in emergency at the hospital. I mean, that is not something people could easily take it. So people would want some human being to address that issue at an emergency point. So we cannot really put a chatbot there. So how much of intervention, that is that's a new trend on cybernetics of how much can we have human and how much can we have technology take over. And mostly the collaboration and co-creation is here to stay. So there is gone are the eras where people used to have siloed geniuses, where people will have individual strength and individual knowledge coming up and showing up that I built this. It's no more that era. It has to be a collaborative work, and it has to co-create itself. So that there comes the newer ways. I'm sure you all touched upon a little bit. It is called the generative design. So when I say generative design, it's more a mix of artificial intelligence, that is the software coming in, and the computing power of the cloud. I'm sure there are a lot of projects that Dr. Pillai mentioned about where they're using these concepts in the futuristic plan, but this is here to stay, where to create design solutions that would never have been conceived by a human mind, or at least as quickly that these combinations or this combo can do. And engineers now really have a new partner in designing solutions and collaborate with generative design algorithms to co-create. For example, Airbus used generative design to redesign an interior partition from its A320 aircraft. In that example, the collaboration between man and machine came up with a solution that really removed about 45% of the parts weights, which is very important. I mean, how do we technically solve this, but also how much of human intervention or how much of machine solved it. So there are lots of other things, other concepts that is in the world from a design perspective. Like we look at how one job can be done. How can we focus on what are the jobs to be done? So there is a concept of jobs to be done by Clayton Christensen. This is a Harvard learning. And he says that, a person will buy a drilling machine to drill a hole. We can add 15 other technologies within it. It's a Bluetooth connector, it has a screen, it has so many things, yes, but the end purpose for the user is only to drill a hole. As long as we serve that purpose with as much ease and benefit, so that is what he would look at. So how do we get to the jobs to be done at one point in time, where one job to be done at once, it makes it more easier for focused design solutions. And it has to be human-centered design. Everything human beings are going to use it and consume it. So how much can we load on him and how much we shouldn't is a decision to be made by everybody in the ecosystem that is building it. So empathy driven is one of our core values, which we push into everything, every aspects of business that we are into. We also help automobiles to work on the HMI dashboards, and also we work with healthcare and retail segments as well, and banking, financials, every segments that we are into. So we make sure that it is all about empathy. How much can we deliver to the user and how much the user can consume? Let's have an empathy. And even here, how much of the users are consuming this? I know it's always a challenge, but even if we can achieve 50% or 60% of what people are expecting, that is a good win in today's state. So that more on these concepts will come up with many design solutions that is coming in, but engineering and design have to co-create is my point on that. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. I think it was a very, very different take on trends, and especially about when you talked about technology. Thank you so much for that very different insight into the whole new, as a very different approach to look into what mega trends would do for the human beings. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Guruprasad Rao from Imaginarium. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Philip, and thank you, Mohan, for a very nice intro to generative designs which are going to come. I also come from design world that way, and more and more mathematics and computing is going to enter the design space, and design and to work, because without design you cannot think of anything that is that can be made. And since we are talking about future trends, I think I would like to state here. One is, of course, the human life expectancy is going to be pushed even further where you can have the spare parts available, be it, from artificially culturing them or by 3D printing, pushing the boundaries of, how long, as long as your CPU works, you can be living for probably for 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, like that. That's one trend. The two is people are looking at engineered, organisms, engineered. Even people were thinking about COVID if it is synthesized. So you're going to have many things which are engineered. The plants, for example. People are thinking of synthesizing meat. So you can have a 3D printed food, which is not only veg but also non-veg. So you don't have to kill animals for the sake of food. So in that area, I think one has to look at it. The other one is the computing power, which is going to move from a large part like a robot to a lot of variables. So a lot of variables will come into picture. So be it a diagnostic thing, which is right now on the wrist as a watch, but many things will go into the body, and they will take care, and micro robots which will go inside the body and do the drug delivery. Those things will come. So the third trend would be all of us will enter a kind of virtual um, blanket and come into the reality and virtual. There will be a kind of a confused state where you get into a virtual world and to the real world. So it may be an issue, but how to manage that is also important. So a lot of computing will be there all around us. Today we are talking about autonomous robots. I see there will be mostly hybrid manufacturing in future. Hybrid is going to comprise of the CNC, the robots, and the 3D printing, because each one bring their own goodness. And in future, this hybrid may take the shape of a robot, because robot is something which can double and act as a CNC, as a 3D printer and a robot. So it can do all of them. Someone was talking about the transformer like thing where people can get extra energy. They can become Rakshasas by having kind of exoskeleton which is automated, and it is controlled by the mind. That kind of things also can come. So I think it is very interesting thing we are going to have. It is going to be a wonderful world, wonderful time to be alive, to see all these changes. And with Pillai said, hinting at helium-3, its power of harnessing helium-3 and mining it in moon and coming back to in Earth, and give free power, as Ram suggested. These are all, I think, are wonderful things to see. Hope many of them will become reality for all of us in our lifetime. And that's it. Phillips, back to you.
Yes, sir. I think you summed it up really well. We are living in very, very interesting times. Lots of technology disruptions that are happening all around us, and they're happening at such an alarming pace. And you also talked about something like, there's something called physical state and virtual state, and which we will be switching back and forth. So pretty exciting stuff to hear about. Yes, lot of technology disruptions and happening at such a fast pace. But how do we manage all these disruptions, and how do we embrace these changes that come along with these type of disruptions? I think that's again a very, very important perspective that we need to deliberate upon and discuss upon. I remember Darwin in his theory of evolution, he noted that that it is not the strongest of the species that will survive. It will also not be the most intelligent of the species that will survive, but it will rather be the species that is adaptable to change that will survive. So rightly emphasize that we need to keep on constantly changing, embracing new things, adapting ourselves to different changes that are happening around us. And there's definitely a gale force of technology disruptions that are blowing at us. Now, how are we going to look at these changes per se? Or in other, what do these disruption challenges throw at us as opportunities for us as mankind, as for young students who are listening to this program? So I would like to listen through your words of wisdom. How would you want organizations, people behind them to respond? We will start with you, uh, sir, because we will start with Mr. Ram again, once again. Uh, Mr. Ram, over to you, please.
Yeah, I think you talked about Darwin, right? And the ability to kind of succeed. Humans, I think, should be credited more because of their ability to learn, unlearn, adapt, fail, experiment, and go on. If I think one thing that astonishes me right now is in the current world, right, in the COVID situation, if we had asked any CIO 6 months ago as to how much time it would take for your organization to work from home, right, completely 100%, they would have said nothing less than 3 years, and with a lot of experimentation, training, testing, and backups, and so on. The COVID situation has taught us so much that in most of the organizations have actually moved home with 85% at least. We moved 470,000 people to work from home, working with quite a large number of organizations across the globe, right? Making sure that all our businesses are safe and secure, right? And that is an astonishing thing. Nobody would have, nobody knew about things like social distancing and stuff like that. Technology has helped us to learn and adapt. I think new technologies are not only shaping and need skills that we need to work, but are also changing the way that we work, right? And it is not about the way to work, but also in learning, also new ways of education, training, and work. I'll just talk about only one area. I think many of us would have seen the video in the last Geo AGM, where we talked about the augmented reality and virtual reality, and the ability to bring the price point to reach the masses. And I think we have a unique way to analyze problems and respond. Even if you talk about education, I think many of the colleges, they spend a lot of time on theory, and students know about the theory, they know about mathematical formulas, but if you talk about practical element of it, I think it'd be very, very difficult, because if you talk about an engine that is used in the space rockets, it will be very, very difficult because not many people have access to even diagrams, right? Now, I think if now you can actually take an auto engine and bring it to the classroom in a 3D AR VR, you can actually rip it apart, see it, and so on. The same AR VR concepts can be taken when you actually want to repair some things. And for doing some of these technologies, I think we have to kind of not only embrace it, but for reskilling ourselves, but also as a part of our jobs. I think multiple technologies have been brought to solve problems, and I don't think some of these problems we knew as problems itself. So I will rest my case here, saying that we have technologies that are available today, and I think if we put it in the right way, I think we can not only learn how to upskill ourselves, but also to refer.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Shankar, your thoughts on this, please.
Sure. Many years back, somebody had to come back home because the college was closed. There were no classes. And having come back home, he sat under a tree and just happened to see an apple fall. And then he came up with the entire theory of gravity. And then he didn't stop there. During that work from home period, he also developed optics, and he also developed calculus. So a person who is totally cut off from his university and no internet, no Google at home, and he used the time to come up with the three such powerful things: gravity, optics, and calculus. One can imagine how much of good one can do during a sudden slowdown of activities like this. This is a time we have all been leading busy lives, a lot of travel, meetings, and whatnot. So this is a real time for us to consciously slow down, look at what we are doing, and ask ourselves, is there a better way to do things? And also look at the future and say, what kind of new opportunities, new requirements that the post-COVID world would bring in? And what can we do about it? What kind of ideas we should be pursuing today to address those challenges? So this is the time for that, really. And I saw that happening all around me. See, I mentioned to you about the transition to electric, autonomous, and connected. But most of our engineers were having a mechanical engineering. They were all in the internal combustion engine powered vehicle domain. And I thought it would take 3 years for me to expose them all to electric, connected, and autonomous vehicles, because that brings concepts from electrical, electronics, computer programming, so many domains. But in the last 3 months, what we could do in terms of reaching out to our engineers and having online sessions and webinars and whatnot, the whole thing is accelerated. It's impossible. I never thought I would get so much time. And these 3,000 engineers can free up time from the busy schedules to learn new technologies. But that has happened during these 3-4 months of work from home. Other thing that happened was our plant in Igatpuri near Nashik. We have been making only engines all these years. We never thought we can make anything else in that plant. And during this time, we made respirators in that particular plant for the first time. We didn't even know what it was, the ventilators that we had to make in those plants. We had no prior knowledge of that, but we could do it in a very short time, learn all about it and make it. And we also organized something called Create the Future, where we were flooded with thousands of ideas from our employees across different functions as to what they see as the future and what kind of ideas could help us to contribute to this future. So these 3-4 months have been very intense activity in terms of creativity, new idea generation, and a lot of positivity. So I think the potential for a human being to stay positive in spite of all the crises and all the negative things happening around is phenomenal. Actually, it's unimaginable how much one can stretch ourselves and stay positive and also be creative and productive during tough times like this. That's something I always heard my father speak about it and my grandparents talk about it. But for the first time, I saw it around me. So this was a great awakening, because we always think about AI being smarter than us and stuff like that. But I know that the power of a human being is a lot more than all the technology that we are seeing around us. So that was a real awakening for me during this 3-4 months of work from home.
Thank you, sir. You brilliantly brought out the power of staying positive.
Yeah.
And the infinite potential that we as human beings can bring in to manage any of the changes that is required from our end. Thank you, sir. Over to you now, sir, Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj.
Thank you, Philip. I think great conversations. I mean, we talked about, we spoke about Darwinism, and we are speaking about creativity. So it's a favorite term of mine, which we call it as creative destruction. It is very important for us to have creatively destruction. Otherwise, we will never grow to what we are and grow to further what we have to be. So when I say this, if you look at 1955 Fortune 500 companies which survived, how many of them have really survived today? Only about 54 have survived. And reached all the Fortune 500, I mean, remaining, other than the 54, everybody is replaced. And they did not got replaced by any modernization or anything. They only got old with naturally being displaced with the new. I mean, the adaptation of newer experiences, delivering the best experiences, because I come from that world. So I would re-emphasize more on that. Taking examples like Starbucks, Starbucks started selling experience than a coffee. So as long as every company starts adopting to the newer forms and new norms, like Mr. Ram was talking about COVID situations, or Dr. Shankar spoke about how COVID has made us learn things. So many things have changed. But how do we adapt to the new norm, and how does the creative destruction take us to the next place is something that is what every company has to follow. And I mean, when I give you an example of Starbucks, similar examples are there, like IKEA. They don't sell furnitures, but they sell more on do it yourself as a concept. How easy is it to do it yourself? So there are many concepts that we can talk about, that many brands have started following big time on the creative destructions aspect of it.
Thank you, sir. Very new insight on creative destruction. I think it will call for a lot more understanding of what creative destruction as a concept is. I think if you start digging deep into what this is all about. But I don't think we have the time at this point of time. But I think at least offline, we will love to Google and find out more on creative destruction. Dr. Guruprasad, over to you now. Love to hear from you as well.
I think every invention needs a trigger, so they say necessity is mother of invention. Way back in 13th, 14th century, when the Ottoman Turks conquered Constantinople, which was the main, trade link, the Ottoman Turks, they just captured the port, and there was no supply, to the Western world from China and India, the spice route or the Silk route. So people were forced to look for alternate routes to India. In the process, they also discovered America, and they also came over to the big continent, the Africa, the Cape of Good Hope, and to India. We have seen that. So I think the COVID is playing, that trigger and pressing a fast forward for the digitization. And that is no different. I've been seeing people using more and more, because of social distancing, people's need for ordering online has increased. So when Imaginarium had orders, coming from people, it was all directed on phone, whom to ask and all. We were lucky to have a cloud factory, a concept of cloud factory, wherein one can upload and pay and get it served. So I think in future, the manufacturing is going to take a backseat. The design will lead the consumption, and one customer sitting somewhere in the world orders something, and pays for it, and the whole world looks at it, and whoever is capable of will deliver it. That has become a possibility today. And so the cloud factories are going to be very popular with the makers, individual designers, or even the small scale industry. While SMEs, or the large scale industries will have their own facility to manufacture things, the whole manufacturing is going to get disrupted. And in this, also agility, manufacturing agility, I've seen, everyone doing their bit to fight the fighters, equip the fighters with tools, be it ventilator hardware or the face shields. So Imaginarium also had a couple of laser cutters, 3D printing. So that is our main thing. We have CNC and we have tooling, everything. We pressed into service. Within a matter of a week's time, we had something like thousands of pieces made ready, which was not our line of business. So I think it has brought in some kind of a manufacturing agility, because of the need that pandemic has brought in. And we cannot say no to somebody who says, can you do this? So that's what made us, my colleagues, to be in office. And we have been working all the time, to help the fighters of COVID. And for me, it's also a great time to learn. Like Dr. Shankar said, it's a great time to share and learn. So I've been doing it all the time. Either I'll speak or I'll be listening. It has happened, our industry across, it has happened across the larger spaces. Today, I'm able to deliver lectures all over the country, given a very short time, like half an hour. So that has all become possible thanks to COVID. And this new normal is going to stay, because I found it is very economical to reach people. It is also economical to travel. There is no need for travel. So, and switch between Bombay to Bangalore to Calcutta, it needs a few minutes only. If it is a different platform, I work on today Zoom, then Microsoft Teams, and then GoToMeeting, and so on August 1st, I'll be talking about to students of high school, and there is a web series which is going to come up where we are going to tell them how to make things, so it will be a great series which will come thanks to the trigger by COVID.
Thank you, sir. You brought this out well. The necessity is the mother of invention. And your idea of having to remain agile is one way to manage change is actually well thought out and really appreciated. You also brought out some inputs on cloud manufacturing. And you also talked about Corona being a trigger for so many changes that are happening around. And on a lighter note, now I'm reminded of a a message that is getting circulated in WhatsApp these days. It is if Corona had to make a CV, it would read as responsible for global digital transformation, reduction of global carbon dioxide emission, global hygiene initiatives, ensuring 100% compliance on washing hands. And I think people say that this CV is a very impressive CV, better than many have.
Absolutely.
So yeah, necessity is the mother of invention. Now I think we'll move on to the next part of the discussion. Um, Newer technologies will also have to call for newer types of skill sets from people. I think the best place where you would love to get people with the required skill sets are from the universities and academic institutions. Because traditionally, universities and academic institutions have been the epicenters of the skill sets for all the workforce. Now, at Rajalakshmi, I can definitely say that we are not going at a glacial pace as far as changing our curriculum and bringing in the right type of changes as far as our curriculum is concerned. We have definitely gravitated towards embedding all these technology areas that we have been talking about as part of our core curriculum. So now I would like to know from you as experts, what would be your perspectives on what a student should be doing right when they come to academic institutions, and what they need to be really getting ready for. I would also like to learn from you your personal experiences as you moved from academic institutions to the corporate life. What type of changes? I'm sure you would have seen through at least the third industrial revolution and the fourth industrial revolution. And what were the changes that you had to bring in terms of adapting to these changes that comes along with these type of revolutions? We will start with Dr. Guruprasad for a change.
Okay, thank you, Phillips. Very nice. In fact, this COVID closure, I was interacting with a lot of educational institutions. From IISc, I have 2 interns. So we have a e-internship, which is a new concept by itself, And I've been also mentoring IDC, IIT Bombay designers from BDES, to do projects again from a long distance, because the boy is in Aurangabad and I'm in Bombay. I was interacting with him and he has made a wonderful design just by interaction. So I think the learning is something which people, teachers in future would be giving a lot of educational material which are already recorded, and they will only become kind of a facilitators. They will clear doubts if any. Otherwise, the learning will go on its own. It is like having library books. People have to go and turn the page and read. But if there is a movie-like thing which is going to narrate everything, like Dr. Shankar said about engine, if they want to learn the cross-section, the exploded view, and the flow, animation, everything is going to make it very, very engaging, So the whole thing, the learning becomes a kind of a moving from textbook to board to a kind of a experience. Education as an experience is going to get registered, and also I think that will make people learn many skills, which is what industry needs actually. Industry needs people not with a certificate. I don't think so. Typically, when I want to hire a candidate, what we do is, it is like having a kind of date. So we have an internship where we can both see the work culture. There is a nice way they are exposed to teamwork, and we can assess them how they work, what is their attitude towards work. Attitude makes it's very important in the organizations. So internship it would be a great way to hire people. So we offer a lot of such internships wherein we evaluate candidates, and good candidates are going to continue their internship work, and that becomes their new role. And I think if I were to tell students, they should not study for marks, they should study for knowledge. Many times in 100 marks paper, you have to score something and you attempt some questions only selectively. I think that is a wrong approach. Probably it is all done by JEE and the competition world has. But learning for the pure knowing the things is most important to all of them. Be it coding or be it design, there is nothing, no replacement for the hard work you do, because the working knowledge and experience is the skill component. Skill is what? It is you're able to demonstrate what you can do. Today, I don't see anything as a certificate. If a CAD guy is put on a mission and he is able to demonstrate his skills, he's hired. That's what industry wants. We want people who are able to demonstrate that. I think that's important. And that's where students, all of you, should focus. Be it IoT or coding, or whether it is mechanical engineering where you need to do something, go deep into that technology, learn and understand, and see how you can contribute with your knowledge. So I think degree is in future, degrees are going to be there. You can have a distance learning also. Many universities are going to offer, because new normal learning has become borderless. You can register anywhere, and they are going to even examinations are going to be online, and they are so nicely designed. And it's all happened in last 4 months. A lot of examinations have been conducted, and people have absolutely they're in control. I think the academics in future will all move towards a new normal, and it is here to stay. It is not going to be a temporary thing. And the beauty is the Nobel laureates, from across the continents can come and give lectures. They will give lecture to 1,000 many people, across the timelines, the borderless world, and that will be a great opportunity for every one of you to explore, learning from the great masters directly, right from the horse's mouth. If you are learning Taguchi directly, Dr. Taguchi comes and teaches you, that becomes a great thing. It's a dream. So there'll be a lot of so-called the Dronacharyas. Ekalavyas will be there. Because of Dronacharyas will teach. I think that's what I see. Back to you, please.
Oh, thank you, sir. I mean, you were rightly emphasized that the skill component is very, very critical rather than a bookish knowledge. Very, very, very well said and very well articulated. uh, very true that, even in academic institutions like ours, we actually ensure that this component is really captured. The students actually have an exposure in terms of participating in lots of hackathons, lots of project contests. This will actually, bring out whatever that they've learned as part of their classrooms and laboratories into creating projects. Yeah, obviously, engineers will have to make their hands dirty, is what people say. So, yeah, as long as the students get opportunities and make use of them, yes, I think they should be able to have the right type of skill sets that are required to work for these for organizations of the future. Um, I'd like to now request Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj, sir, your thoughts, please.
Sure. When I would just say that, even personally also, it's been very important for us to focus on unconventional thinking. As long as every student can look at how unconventionally they can think of situations and come out with a better and newer ways of working. Even if you call for a walk-ins today, you will have hundreds of people coming in for interviews. But what makes a difference is like, if you were able to deliver the job right, if you're able to deliver the expectations in a very unconventional manner, then you will stand out for sure. So to get that unconventional learning, it is not easy for everybody also. So we have to develop the concept of the T concept, which is more a broader versus the narrow depth that you can go into. So there should be one skill which you are really, really confident about. When you go to the war field also, your one move is very important that nobody can beat you with. And everything else, you have to also have agility to learn and go deeper into it as required. So in today's world, there is nothing like I just know this and I will look for a job in this particular technology or this particular skill. Because your agility to learn anything and move on and learn, go deeper as it requires, as it's needed, is all the skill that is really required. I mean, if you go deep into one particular technology tomorrow, that will be, that will go away. There will be something else that is taken over from the world perspective. So it's very important for us to manage that unconventional behavior and come up with it. I mean, even all of us, right? I mean, at least I can talk about myself, that we had to change. It's never what we learned. It's never what we was certified for. What we're doing is absolutely what we have learned over time. And it's actually sculpting ourselves to the styling of the world that comes into picture.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Unconventional thinking and is something, yes, very much the need of the out of the box thinking. Don't go in a very, very conventional way is something that you brought out. And of course, the emphasis on T. Yeah, we moved from a pipe to a T. Very, very relevant in these times. Now, I would request Dr. Shankar Venugopal, sir, please.
Yeah. See, I liked what Mohan mentioned about having a T kind of a profile. That is the innovator's profile. And breadth is becoming as important as depth when you look at somebody entering the industry. Because all these departments like mechanical, electrical, computers, you have it in a university, that's fine. When you come to the industry, there is no such walls as such. All the products that we work on cuts across all these domains, and the ease with which your students can work in such cross-functional teams, talk to people from other domains and work together becomes the most important skill that you can give them when they leave your college and get into the industry. So that's a very, very important skill. I also liked what Dr. Guruprasad Rao mentioned about digital dronas, dronacharyas, and e-ekalavyas, which is actually accelerating the entire learning process. This is really, there is no excuse for not learning today's situation. But over and above the domain knowledge that you can give your students, I'd like to focus on certain thinking skills that is going to become super important for them when they get into the industry. And what I'm telling is not just for a student aspiring to come to the industry. There could be students who want to create their own startups rather than take up a job. There could be somebody who wants to go for a master's or a PhD, or there could be somebody else who wants to prepare for the IAS and get into government. But these thinking skills, about 4 in number that I'm going to mention now, will be equally important for all these students going forward. One is, the very first is design thinking. So you mentioned about hackathons. Yes, it's no longer just about ideas. It's about your ability to prototype your ideas and very quickly show how it works and convince people and get their support. So your ability to move from an idea on a paper to a working prototype, which is the prototyping is a core heart of design thinking. And there is something even more important other than prototyping in design thinking. That is your willingness to spend a lot of time with your end users and customers and understand what they really care for, what are those constraints that they are burdened with. If your engineers are able to pick up these two aspects of design thinking, then they are going to be most valuable wherever they go. That's a very first skill. The second skill is what I would call as exponential thinking, because when they get into the technology space, all the technologies that they are going to use are all growing exponentially, whether it's AI, machine learning, IoT, robotics, additive, whatever you see, they're all growing exponentially. They have crossed that slow growth linear phase. They are all in this non-linear exponential growth phase. When they are handling such exponential technologies, their thinking cannot be linear and incremental. Their thinking also has to be non-linear and exponential. So that's how exponential thinking, your ability to think 10x and 100x, becomes a lot more important than just 2x and 3x. The third is sustainable thinking. It's very easy to get carried away with all these technologies and ideas and do something big, but making sure we don't forget the sustainability aspect of what we do in the long term, making sure that everything we do has a positive impact on the environment becomes super important. And finally, the fourth one is innovative thinking. I'm sure, given sufficient time to learn and practice, all of us can come up with innovative ideas. It's not that you have to be born innovative or creative to be an innovator. I firmly believe that one can learn, and by practice, one can become really good at it. And there are methods like TRIS and many other systematic innovation methods which all students of engineering can learn and apply to solve problems in a very, very structured approach and come up with innovative solutions. So I feel that these four thinking skills, design thinking, exponential thinking, sustainable thinking, and innovative thinking, these are the four skills that are going to be very important going into the future. And I wish you could train all your students along with the subject knowledge, these four thinking skills by the time they come out of your college and get into their chosen careers.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. You really brought out the key things that we need to be doing. First is about encouraging interdisciplinary projects. Yeah, of course. Uh, these are something which our students must really work on as they spend the 4 years of their study in the campus. And also, when you're talking about the thinking skills with sustainable thinking, you also wanted to bring about the ethical aspects. Yes, we do bring in all those type of elements into our courses. It's about suppose a student studies a course on AI, and the ethics in AI is something which we do. Yes, and obviously there are a lot of courses on green, uh, uh, carbon footprint, and all those type of stuff. Yes, of course, our students in fact go through all these type of courses as part of even their regular curriculum as well. Uh, Finally, Mr. Ram, your thoughts and perspectives, please.
Yeah, I think it is interesting to hear about exponential thinking and technology that is not going linearly and so on. I think every generation that has lived on this planet has experienced change, right? But the key difference that I see is that in the last decade, the kind of technology, I think we talked about the exponential list of technologies that have come in, has actually not only increased the change, but the rate of change for in the marketplace. Right? I think the world that we live in is a very, very different place than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we didn't have Facebook in a big way. LinkedIn were babies. Twitter was not there. You couldn't order for a pizza on a phone, right? You couldn't surf on Google without having to worry about it. I think if I draw a graph, right, in the last 100 years and look at the technologies that were there, I think one statistics I think really attracted me, that the time that it takes for invention to be impacting, let's say, 5 million end users, it's decreasing rapidly. Radio almost took 38 years. TV took 13 years, which is roughly 1/3 of it. Internet took 4 years. Facebook took 2 years. Now, some of these viral applications take less than a few hours, right? Which can actually make or break companies, right? And now we're talking about learning here, right? And in TCS, we talk about legacy technology because technology is changing and not legacy people, which means that people can actually learn, unlearn, relearn, adapt, apply, and scale. I think that's something that I think we normally talk about, right? But how do we apply? I think today's technologies have, when you look at it from a technology lens, you have agile, right? And I think we also saw about cloud factories. I think that's a very interesting concept, right? Today, when you want to actually do something, can I put it in the cloud? Can multiple people contribute towards it and get something quickly, right? Rather than having to wait through a cycle, even if it is 95% correct, can I do it faster? And then I can refine it to take it to the next level. How do I apply technologies like AI, automation, or intelligence to kind of use the cognitive capabilities to deliver an outcome? And cloud is, of course, a leveler because you can really take up technology without having to kind of do something. So from a technology lens, I think these are the 4 pillars, right? The agile, automation, intelligent, and cloud. And if I have to start something very, very interesting, even if I have some idea, I can start in the cloud with very minimal resources and scale up to 1 million customers, even being in the college, right? But what are the, when you look at from a business behavior lens, right, what are the few things that we have to keep in mind, right? We talked about exponential thinking. I also talk about exponential value. Now, if I do X and somebody else does X plus 1, I think there is no difference. But if I do 10 times X or 20 times X, that is exponential value. But how do I do it? I have limited brain power. Can I leverage the ecosystem, right? And can I basically collaborate with the external world and make it happen? The third thing is, what does the customer want, right? Customer wants mass personalization. I, as an individual, it doesn't matter what it is, but I am an individual. Even if I am a person going to buy a cake, I want my cake, my name to be written in a different way, right? So mass personalization is very, very important, right? So from a business perspective, there are 4 lenses. One is exponential value, mass personalization, leveraging ecosystems. And to do this, you need to embrace some risks. I'm not saying that throw the whole thing out and try and take endless risk. But when you basically look at risk for doing mass personalization to a degree of 1 to 5 million people, is it possible? Answer is yes, but we need to think out of the box. So what do we expect the current engineers to do? I think one is what Mohan talked about as a T-skill concept: be good, but also be willing to learn, unlearn, relearn. That's one thing. But be willing to collaborate with others, which means that teamwork and outcomes are more important. Willingness to seek help, right? Contextual knowledge is important. As much as technology is important, contextual knowledge and ability to respond is important. I think these are things that I think will help us embrace the changes, but deliver value to our end customers. And I think we are there only because of our customers. That's what Gandhiji said. And I think that's what even we talk about Clayton Christensen. We have jobs to do. And
thanks, Ram. I think that was a very, very subtly and brilliantly put in terms of what the industries the industry is looking to at this point of time. And from an industry lens, what do you think that the students would need to be doing in their academic institutions? Like, be ready to collaborate and be ready to take help. I think yes, from you have subtly said all these things, but very, very profound messages that the students will have to pick up from here. But I'm going to request now Dr. Pillai sir. So you'd like to throw in a little bit of your thought process on this. How do we give birth to a new age workforce from academic institutions? What are the things that our students should be doing in order to bring in education 4.0?
I was listening to our exciting panelists. Fantastic, fantastic. They gave wonderful ideas, and it is a good thing that the students are listening to such great ideas. And the college also, the Rajeshwari Institute of Technology, has got many things to learn from our panelists. Outstanding. And we have done some experiment on this. When we have started the HGMDP, we had problem of this manpower. Manpower who can think. I have shown you some innovation examples. All creative minds only brought. So to make them creative, what we have done, the final year of the students, we selected the people and we gave directly 6 months, we posted them to our place and put them in the job, the task. So they have got a practical knowledge and they have come out with some ideas. But once they join, then they were they are adaptive to the change, adaptive to the system. So this made us good. So what is needed, as suggested about the education system, the present education system make engineers, but they are not creative engineers. So what we have to make is creative engineers. Creative engineers, if you want to create, you have to go into practical. Now the learning system has changed because of the COVID, but that's okay. But that only you can link with them. But how will they put their hand? You put 4 students in one university. We told them, you take this engine. This is the Benz engine. You study that. So they stripped open. They understood everything. Finally, they came out with some ideas, which the knowledge what they have got finally is not only that Benz engine. They have come out with some ideas how it can be improved. So once you put them into the job, then you see difference. I have seen one young boy in one school in USA. The school he has joined is the second year, second standard. They have taken that all the chaps to a fire engine, and they taught about one full day. They taught about fire engine, each part, and then they have done this fire quenching, everything they did full day. And that fellow gone to the engineering college, he still remembers what he has done in the young age. That means the practical knowledge at the young age makes a lot of difference. That means creative thinking comes only through practical knowledge at the young age. That is very important. And when they come to higher education, and particularly to engineering, see their knowledge opens up. What they have learned in the school comes up in big way. So it's an integrated thing. You cannot make a creative student in the engineering college. It should start from the beginning. It should start from the primary school, high school, and then come to the college. It should be it's a chain. That is what is important if you want to make creative people. I know it was also told like Ramanujam. Ramanujam was school, he was out. Nobody liked him in the school, but he has made a big deal. So like this, we have got intelligent minds, but they have to be creative. So the creation can be given by a guru can do that, but this fellow exceeds the guru if he is creative. So bringing creative knowledge with value system is very important. All the 4 panelists have made very, very important point. You integrate all these points, and finally, you have to see that their exponential thinking has to come. That means you have to create creative mind in them. So that is very important. Each mind, our brain has got 86 billion neurons. You have to actuate the neurons. Einstein told he could activate only 5% of his brain neurons to make the theory of relativity. But if he says, if I have activated my brain better, I would have found something very interesting. So the thing is that you have to impart creativity from the beginning, and in the college also it should be value based. Today the value is degrading, we are seeing that. So that should be done. So the COVID situation is okay, but after COVID situation, maybe after 6 months, when we start doing things, at least final year, like Dr. Guruprasad told, should be more on practical knowledge. They should be put on the job, which is very difficult. Then only they will come out with ideas. I would like to just read one phrase. See, Indian youth have proved enormous talent, which I told you. And when there was a necessity, that is, all the countries put MTCR, people have come out with very great ideas. And what we need from the students is the creative ideas. And Dr. Kalam used to say, you think yourself unique. That means individually he has to be unique, but he has to work in a system. I'll read that para. History has proved that those who dare to imagine the impossible are the ones who break all human limitations. In every field of endeavor, whether it is science or engineering or technology or arts, the names of the people who imagined the impossible and achieved are engraved in our history. So from the college, Rajalakshmi College, Institute of Technology, we want to create history. That means the students must be tuned to create history. That means they should think of, imagine the impossible. That's what we have to do. So achievement comes, I can do it. I will achieve. I will win. That type of feeling you have to create. Achievement comes out of fire in our subconscious mind, that I will win. So I wish all the students to think high and become great leaders of technology, leaders of management, and also good people, value-based people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You really brought out the two important things. Imagine the impossible, creative thinking as points that as 2 points which every student will have to start thinking. And it is also a message for the institution. At Rajalakshmi, what we've also been doing is in order to enhance the actual on-the-job training, which you also emphasized early in your talk, we also encourage students to complete internships. It is now mandatory for each and every student in the institution to go and work in the industry, take any simple problem and solve those problems, and then come back and do it as show it as a project to the department, which in turn is evaluated by a panel of experts from the industry and from the academy as well. So this we have made it as a standard operating procedure in our campus. We also have built in partnership with different industries and set up several centers of excellence. Now these are the places where the students go and play with all the equipments that are available and ensure that they understand whatever that is practical out of the particular concept that they studied in the theory classes and the laboratory sessions. So your points are well taken, sir. We would love to convey this message that we would do everything that is possible from our end towards ensuring that the students are encouraged to think about or imagine about the impossible, so that the quality of the projects that they do, the quality of the work that they do inside the campuses, goes on increasing every year. Thank you so much, sir, for the inputs. Now I think we would love to take some of the questions that have come, at least 3-4 questions, because I don't think we have slightly exceeded the time. So I'll quickly be very short. I think the first question will be for Dr. Pillai. One of the questions that has been asked is, what are the current challenges that the country faces, and what is that we need to be doing to be making India a global power?
Okay, so actually this point has come in our discussion already, how to overcome this situation. See, if you think that COVID is creating problem, we have also understood from our panelists how COVID is also helping. So it's both ways. So in Tirukural, I think people will understand, there's a Kural called, it reads like that. Idumbaiki idumbai padupar, idumbaiki idumbai padadavar. It means when you are attacked by a problem, the Tumbam, you have to give problem to that Tumbam. Then only you will be the winner. So that is what is to be done. If you think COVID has come and you are all arrested at home, that is not the solution. You have to face it. You have to face it and succeed. That is what is required. So the current situation, we have got a problem, but there is going to be a big problem going to come. That is the economic crisis which we are going to face. It is not that things are good, things are very bad everywhere, but in India the situation is worse. So we have to come out of this economic crisis. That is more important. That means all our industry have to work, infrastructure has to be made, and we have to find employment for our people. So all these things have to come. So our priority today is to how to create an environment where the people can live peacefully in the years to come. So today security is a problem, border is a problem, safety of the people is a problem, poverty is still there. So all these things have to be solved, and you see that crimes which are happening all have to be solved. That means we need good leadership. Finally, the end is this: if there is a creative, good leader, problems will be less. If the leadership is not good, all problems will come. It is good for the industry, good for the college, good for organization, good for the country. So leadership is the one. So we have to create value-based education. We have to create valuable leadership. Creative leaders we have to create.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. I think Shankar sir has got another meeting coming up at 7 o'clock. Thank you anyway, sir. You've spent time till 7:15. Thank you so much for all your brilliant thoughts and inputs. We would love to stay connected with you in the coming days as well. Thank you so much, sir.
I also would like to thank all the 4 panelists. They are wonderful people. They are wonderful people. They have very good ideas, very good thoughts they are having. That is very important. I think Rajeshwari College should integrate all these thoughts, bring out a booklet. This is a fine session.
Yeah, let me take just a minute, Philip. Thank you, Dr. Pillai. Thank you, panelists. It has been really, I mean, like, I did not expect anything less, of course, you know, knowing all your, seeing all your profiles and knowing some of you. It's been wonderful. The takeaways are interesting times to live, be ready for thorough disruption, agility to learn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think with that note, we would like to formally close the session. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, participants. It's been wonderful having you here. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Philip. You conducted it very well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Philip. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you.
My
Thank you
pleasure.
very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Catch up. Please stay safe. Thank you.